your audio lesson of the day. All right, and welcome to Geeks with Kids, your bi-weekly geeky podcast from a parenting point of view. I'm one of your hosts, Erik, and joining me this week, because it's Thursday, are the two Michaels. Hi, Michaels.
Hey. Hello.
So we're back for another Star Trek Picard Roundup. There's the one. So this week, this week is episode 8, Broken Pieces. So this episode was crazy. Starting episode 8.
There was so much.
Episode 8 of 10 episodes this season. And this is what happened. So 14 years ago, Commodore O takes a group of Romulan women, including Narissa and her aunt Ramda, to a planet called Aya, located in a system with 8 suns, where they experience the admonition, a warning left behind by a long-extinct race in the form of a vision. Most of the women then mutilate or kill themselves, unable to cope with the knowledge, but Narissa and Ramda survive. When Rios sees Soji, it triggers painful memories of someone named Jana. He locks himself in his quarters, leaving his holograms to run the ship, while Picard has him set course for Deep Space 12. Picard contacts Admiral Clancy, who agrees to send a squadron to meet him at Deep Space 12. Raffi learns that Jurati betrayed them, and the EMH reveals that she killed Maddox. After waking up from her coma, Jurati admits the truth to Picard, explaining that O placed a mental block on her to prevent her from talking about the vision. She meets with Soji and tells her that she will never harm her. Raffi meets with Rios, who explains what happened aboard the Ibn Maj. Their ship made contact with 2 beings, one who looked identical to Soji. Then Captain Alonso Vandermeer executed the pair in cold blood, claiming to be acting on secret orders from Starfleet security. When Rios pressed him, Vandermeer committed suicide, and Rios was forced to cover up the truth to keep his ship from being destroyed. Raffi realized that the 2 beings were synths from Bruce Maddox's planet. Raffi puts everything together and tells the crew about the planet in the 8-star system, warning about the destruction resulting from synthetic life, which results in the creation of the Zhat Vash. Commodore O, a Vulcan Romulan hybrid and a member of the Zhat Vash, infiltrated Starfleet and instigated the synth attack on Mars in order to create a synth ban. Soji plots a course for a Borg transwarp conduit to take them to her home planet. They are secretly followed by Narek. Meanwhile, aboard the artifact, Seven arrives to rescue Elnor and activates the Queen's cell. She interfaces with the Queen's system, herself becoming a local Borg queen, but Narissa has many of the ex-Borg executed and others jettisoned into space. However, the Romulans evacuate and the remaining ex-Borg take over. Seven disconnects from the collective. Narissa sends a fleet to Soji's planet before being overwhelmed by the XPs. I think it's really important to note that the Borg also said that she being Seven, had more work to do for them, which was really
Annika. That was such a cool scene. Oh my goodness.
This episode had it was hard to think about how last week was so intimate and personal, and we're like, oh, this is the best episode, which I still think 7 is the best episode of the series.
I'll agree.
8 was so good, it just ramped everything up. Like, this is definitely heading towards a finale.
It was also the exposition episode.
Oh man, everything started falling into place. It was amazing. What did you guys think of this episode? As I keep on talking about how amazing I thought it was.
Sure, yeah. Like I was saying, it was an exposition episode. We were finally getting some answers, and the answers were coming at us in a lot of different and interesting ways. Mm-hmm. We weren't just being told that this was the story by some narrator. Instead, we were learning about Rios, in a very unique way through the holograms. We were learning about what had actually happened with Dr. Jurati through her exploration of Soji, mm-hmm. and her realization of who Soji was. And we're learning about what's happening on the Borg ship, through 7 of 9. Like, it was, there was so much going on, but it was like you leave the episode understanding what was going on way more than you did when you went into it.
Yeah, it didn't look like, it didn't feel like anything suffered, like any of the other plots suffered as the other ones were going on, right? They just kept on, one of the plots would go and they'd reach a high point, and then they'd move to the next one, and that one that would reach another high point, and they just kept on rotating like that. It was such a good masterclass in editing and directing. It was so well done. Also, the look of this episode was it felt like First Contact. It wasn't directed by Jonathan Frakes, but it had that kinetic energy, and it felt like it. It felt like that old Star Trek, very fast-paced movie type thing, like First Contact, in all honesty.
It was one of the few times where I was super excited for the Borg. The Borg have always been a series of villains in the show, and I mean, they've had their moments, but this idea, when Seven became the Borg Queen. That was really a hell yeah kind of episode, kind of moment in the episode. And her eyes turned that dark, that black color with the green light, and then she's, you know, we are Borg, and is like, oh.
Did anyone else have a moment where they're like, oh no, this is gonna overtake her? Like there were moments of panic as I was watching it, because I knew that was the only way for them to escape, but it was also they're reactivating the Borg, even if it was
just as she gets control of all the drones.
Yeah.
Then they get sucked out into space, and it's like, oh, come on. I want those
so brutal.
To do some, you know?
How good is Star Trek that you actually feel sorry for Borg?
Now, right?
But it's because of Seven, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And they've humanized them so much. This season, like they had that whole thing with Picard, and they're like, oh, they're the victims, and that whole idea. And then seeing that them being, you know, just jettisoned out into space before even being saved. It's crazy. And I mean, when Hugh died, like that was a big tearjerker kind of moment too, that, you know, because he was really that Borg that people could connect with before 7 of 9 came into the picture, right? Yeah, for sure. What'd you guys think of the prologue? Like I loved the intro from 14 years ago at the grief world of Aya, the grief world. We had lots of thoughts about it last year, or last episode, and it was definitely a ritual for the Tal Shiar, and it was like
what could be so bad that after you see it or after you experience it, your first thought is, I have to kill myself as quick as possible. Yeah, with anything I have around me, I'm going to smash my face with a rock.
Right? There was also. Did you notice that there was a image of Data in that memory? That was crazy. It was like a quick shot of a synth turning into Data, and I was like, ooh, that's nice. Sorry, Hawk, you were saying something before I cut you off.
How crazy is the secret that they had to construct this bizarre gravitational anomaly involving what 8 suns? And it's like,
then they described it as, why would you do that? Well, just to show people that you can, and to show them that it's so important that you're going to rearrange an entire star system so that people know that there's something important here for you to see.
And then they made an energy table just so you can touch it and go crazy. Oh man,
it felt. I don't know why I was feeling a little bit Mass Effect when I was watching, like when I'm seeing some of this stuff, right?
It did. It felt very Mass Effect-y,
right? Because we're talking about the what were they called in Mass Effect? The creatures that the destroyer. I'm drawing a blank, but you know what I'm talking about.
The sovereign.
Yeah, and so they would also, you know, they in the game they would have visions, and they knew that this thing was coming and it was going to wipe out the whole universe. And I was seeing a little bit of that, and it was kind of a cool thing.
This would make a really good Mass Effect TV show, to be honest, right? Because it felt like even just the shots at the beginning of this, like I haven't seen Star Trek look this beautiful. Even with Discovery shot really well, but it doesn't look as good as Picard. Picard is like, no.
Doesn't the spaceship seem a little Mass Effect too? The La Sirena that he fly, like that seems like a Mass Effect kind of spaceship.
It does. The outside,
I got more of a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe from it.
The inside looks like Guardians, but the outside looks like Mass Effect for sure.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is we keep talking about the vision. I don't know if we want to talk about this a little bit further than that, but this is something that happened in the past, and Picard has a great expositional monologue about it later on, how this past that the Zhat Vash fear will come true now, and that only reflects their web of secrets and fears.
Yeah,
it has no possibility of hope for a better future for this synth revolution.
Is there? I wonder, because we had talked about this earlier, that there are a lot of parallels to modern, like our current life. Is there something like this that's happening in the current realm of our lives? I can't think of anything.
It's interesting because I wasn't a huge Big Bang Theory fan in that, but I did catch this later episode in that where Sheldon and his girlfriend in that were making a primitive binary network using only their skin cells, and I guess this is an actual field of study that they're exploring.
That's sort of terrifying, like a biotechno type thing.
A primitive neural network made entirely out of a skin cell. In a combination of skin cells, actually.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a great fan theory that's going around. I don't know if you guys have heard it yet.
Do I want to? Like, I don't know if I want to, like, that's the hard thing about reading like theories, right? Because then if it's right, you're like, man, I wish I had.
And I sort of tackled this a few episodes back where I was talking about, the possibility of seeing Data appear as a person in the final episode. I mean, I hope that happens, but
I think everyone assumes that. But like at this point, there are a bunch of spoilers going out for the next 2 episodes. I'm like, I don't want to. Not spoilers, but
I haven't
theories.
seen any of those yet. But we won't dig into the fan theories then.
I want to, but I'm at that point where I'm just like, I sort of just want to experience it now, especially if based on how good this episode was. I just want to, and how surprising some of the things that happened.
So I'm just gonna put this out there then. The fan theory basically suggests that there's a link between Picard and Star Trek Discovery. And that's where the fan theory is coming in. And so I'm just going to leave that there. And then,
now I really want to know.
Yeah. Right. We'll actually find out in a couple episodes if that actually falls into place. But there's supposedly a link there.
Remember that, because I would love to talk about it in the thing. Yeah, they're definitely going to link these two, right? They in the first episode, Picard was talking about angels, right? And they had that whole theme with angels last season on Discovery. Yeah. So I could 100% see them putting them closer together. And I guess next season of Discovery, they go past the Starfleet, right? The existence of
way
Starfleet.
into the future, like thousands of years into the future.
Maybe we'll find out why it might even dissolve closer than we realize, right? Who knows?
Yeah. Like, if any of our listeners are curious, you can look up what the Discovery Picard fan theory link is. Otherwise, we'll talk about that stuff when it gets.
We should definitely talk about it in the finale.
Yeah.
We will.
Especially since I remember earlier we had all heard that the new Enterprise is going to show up, and I wonder if it's going to be with that fleet that's being sent to Deep Space 12.
Can you imagine, like the fleet shows up and then it's like then the Enterprise swoops in to save the La Sirena, and the captain is like Worf or something like that.
I 100% think it's Jurati.
Is it Jurati?
I would love it. He would be an amazing captain, right?
Oh, he and Patrick Stewart posted a picture together today, and that. I wonder if that was some sort of little Easter egg.
I hope there are still some surprises, because you go on IMDb and it doesn't list anything but what we've seen, right?
Yeah. But even some of the episodes we've seen, they don't list the cast members. I'm like, what are you doing?
So I hope they have something up their sleeves. I want another like holy shit moment.
Yeah.
When something crazy cool happens and we get to see another character, like, when Seven first appeared or whatever, like,
we knew she was coming, but they had been like pumping up that she's
in the trailer. Like when we saw that first trailer and 7 of 9 appears and she's like, what are you doing, Picard?
Yeah, so good.
You owe me a ship, Picard.
Should we talk about Jurati's journey through this episode? Because there was a lot of fear when she had talked to Picard about killing Maddox, and there was a lot of fear surrounding her. I guess her initial meeting with Soji, like she didn't know what to expect and she had seen the vision, but upon meeting her, she immediately, like, everything broke down, like her guards went down and she immediately, like, it was like a masterpiece had appeared right in front of her.
Well, that was still her area of study, right?
For sure.
She was an expert in cybernetics and android like androids and all that kind of stuff. So suddenly all of that took over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she knew nothing about Soji's existence before all this began. So
yeah, it was such a good, again, Allison Pill, such a good actress.
Oh, she's so good.
You know what I felt most of through her performance this week was relief. Because she's carrying around all these dark secrets and that for the last several episodes and that. So this episode was just a total relief that it was all out in the open and that she was willing to admit her mistakes. She was willing to give herself up.
And you can see that weight lifting off of her shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But do you think it was her fault? Because the idea behind a Vulcan mind meld is that, you actually, it's kind of a Inception kind of thing, right? Where you really don't have the control. You believe that it's your own thoughts, but it actually could be someone else's thoughts.
Plus, there was that other block that Commodore Orp opened in her.
The psychic block or whatever that was in there. So she's right now ready to turn herself in. But maybe do you think that we're going to determine that maybe she wasn't really at fault and she was brainwashed?
I don't know if it brainwashes I feel like because those memories are right in her, like she was really compelled to do it. Like she would have to, because that's what she was feeling, right?
She actually called it poison. they unleash a poison into her mind.
Well, all of those Romulans that saw that particular memory, killed themselves.
Yeah.
So she was exposed to that same abomination or whatever that was at the beginning of the episode. She was exposed to it, but sort of in a second, through a second.
Well, she said that she wanted to kill herself every day, right? And she never did it because she had this mission that Commodore O put her on. Yeah. So could you imagine going through that? Oh man.
Just the stuff that was in her head was so traumatizing.
There is an idea behind that. She was shown what O needed her to see, and not necessarily everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. Did we talk about Rios and his?
Not yet.
24th century schizoid man.
Oh. Yeah. Well. Yeah. He broke his personality up into 5 pieces, and we see all his different aspects of his personality, which is amazing and such a great idea to have as different crew members with different accents.
Raffi kept getting him confused with the holograms.
Yeah. It was amazing. She also had a really good episode. Like, I'm starting to like her a lot. This episode, I've really enjoyed her. Especially
her only point though on this episode was just to interact with those holograms. It almost felt like she was just pushing the story forward.
It was her in detective mode though, and it was wonderful seeing that. Like, she wasn't gloomy and
drunk and that, but now she that little moment in that when she goes to the replicator for a drink and she forgets she locked herself out of it.
Yeah, wonderful. Like she's coming into her own, and I think because she sees some vindication in what she has done the past 12 years, she has like a fire, like there's been a light lit underneath her, and now she's just going, and she sees the purpose to what she's doing. Yeah. But back to Rios.
It felt it felt like a stage, like a kind of technique that you'd use in a stage show, like a stage production. Mm-hmm. Like if you were trying to you'd give 5 different actors different portions of a character's life, and it felt very like drama,
but
like,
not as cheesy.
Yeah. Like, how about that one hologram who just stood uncomfortably close to her at all times during their conversation?
They were all sort of weird and different, which was good.
It was funny.
There's something amazing about having her piece things together with the holograms and them realizing that they each had a different part of this memory. Yeah. That he could, she could go up to the captain afterwards and, talk to him as a friend and help him through this painful moment that he had gone through.
I love when they're searching for something in their memory, their eyes do that little flicker thing. I'm really, really excited about that.
Did the EMH do that on Voyager? I don't recall.
No, this is a new special effect.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
But on the first episode of Picard, when he was in that archive trying to look for the painting, she did that too. The hologram did that there too. Yeah.
Maybe it's a OS update, which is nice.
Yeah. just a visual, like a theme. You have to apply a theme to your holograms.
So we also find out that the mystery behind Rios is what had happened on his previous Starfleet ship and why he no longer trusts Starfleet. The whole idea of his captain killing Tooth Sense because of O, and then
and then him having to cover it up for the sake of the crew, and that who he knew he would doom to death if he didn't. And I think I understand the holograms now, in that instead of repressing all the guilt and emotions that he had behind it, and that he decided to, like, because they go into a bit of a description about how he purposely left the scanner on. Didn't go back to correct it and that, but made them all distinctly himself and little.
And that he tweaked parts of it, right?
Yeah. He would erase certain data that he didn't want
them to remember. Yeah. I guess it was sort of like a release for him, right? A way for him to feel those emotions in different parts of it.
To cope, right?
Yeah.
That was
very
such a cool
character.
Scene.
It's always fascinating going through his reading selection. I saw The Stranger on his shelf, and that didn't.
I did not notice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that.
But even more so, I want him to be in season 2. Like I don't want us to just have Picard and then reset all of the periphery characters. I want all of those characters to be with us still. And I know they probably won't, because they're not all going to be part of the next story.
About that. In this episode, I think even especially at the end,
when they all sat at the table, that felt like the first time they're a crew, right?
Yeah. I think these characters are coming back for, this is his new crew. If he's coming back for season 2, these guys are coming back with him.
I hope so. Yeah. That would be amazing. Just add Guinan at the bar. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be perfect. Was there anything in this episode you guys didn't like? Did anything not work?
No.
I thought the pacing was perfect. I don't know. I don't think anything bothered me at all. Yeah. And normally something like nitpicks at me, like one little thing, not in this one at all.
I mean, there was a couple of little tiny things. Like I wondered why Raffi didn't just go and find, like she kept wandering around and characters had told her that he was locked in his cabin, but she did seem to be wandering around a bit. And it was like, maybe it didn't really describe to me that she couldn't get in or she wasn't able to talk to him.
Maybe she didn't know where your cabin was.
Right? Maybe. That's entirely possible.
I never thought about that, but it was sort of funny that she would just be like, hey, oh, there he is. And then start talking to that person.
But then how did Erik, because you see at the very last scene of the episode, you see Erik sort of slip in and follow them into the Borg transwarp conduit.
Yeah. I wonder if you know how Jurati had put that thing in her to neuralize the tracker. Neutralize. I wonder if it actually didn't, or there's a secondary one that she doesn't know about.
Yeah, because he just seemed
maybe he's just that good.
I'm thinking it's just that he's that good,
or maybe he's tracking Soji. Yeah. Right?
Oh, that would make sense that he would put something in her just in case. Right?
Oh yeah, he would have had every opportunity to.
He would have. Ew. Oh yeah, definitely.
We talk about Narissa and her interaction with her aunt. This week.
I really like that actress. I think she's fantastic.
Narissa or the
Narissa.
Yeah. She was phenomenal. She's been in a number of things that I've really enjoyed her. And she's very good in this. Sorry?
Peyton List.
Yeah, Peyton List, for sure. She's so evil in this episode. And to see her go through that ritual at the beginning and then still take care of her aunt. And then we see her later on the artifact, still taking care of her aunt, sort of,
and getting sort of a backstory about what happened in that, because we still haven't explored that area of how the aunt got assimilated, by the Borg.
But she had that memory in her, that memory that poisoned Jurati, right? Like that, she had that memory in her, and so when the Borg assimilated
her, I'm wondering if that memory
poisoned the whole ship. Yeah.
And the reason that the artifact exists is that the collective probably had to disconnect it from their whole.
Yeah. So now it's no longer even an artifact, right? Like now it's a fully functioning cube. I thought doesn't have any drones.
I thought it wasn't connected to the collective. It was just like firewalled off.
It's not connected. They severed it like a useless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it's a local network.
Yeah, it's just a LAN. It's a LAN party.
It's a LAN party. And they said that it was repairing itself, right? After she had fully.
You could see it repairing itself the way it was together in that. Shout out to all the special effects guys on this episode. It was great seeing an updated version of a Borg cube.
Yeah. It's totally going to show up in the last scene. Like I'm sure it's going to swoop in and attack.
Yeah.
7 of 9 or somebody's going to be on that piloting that Borg cube.
It'll be 7 of 9 and it'll be amazing. And then you'll see it stand up to the Enterprise and you'll just be like, yes. Amazing.
Or side by side with the Enterprise fighting all these Romulans.
Even more. That would be even messed up and amazing. Yeah. Any final thoughts on the episode before we go?
Bring on the final ones. I can't wait.
You know what I was just thinking too. You know that one of Riker's last things that he said in episode 7. He was asked if he would ever go back, and he said that he's still on active reserve. But
maybe he's the captain of the Enterprise.
I think he's going to swing in as the acting captain of the Enterprise to say,
"Oh my God, could you imagine?"
Oh yes,
we'll get the Enterprise coming in, and we'll get like the what's Worf's ship called?
The Defiant.
The Defiant. Yeah.
Would that still even be in commission?
That's that's an old ship.
But maybe they haven't updated. Maybe it's Defiant.
It's got all the 3D panels and everything on it.
Oh man, amazing. So now that we've seen all the trailer for the next episode, I was just saying the show set, it feels like this is the first time, like in the little shots that we've seen, that the crew on the La Sirena feel like they're a proper crew. Like they have a spot there. They know what they're doing. Even though they're crashing, apparently, they know what they're doing and they feel like a whole unit.
Yeah. I like the trailer. It was mercurial though, because we know the name of the planet. We know that they get there, and we're not sure they're encountering. Not those ships look like floral design?
Yeah, they're fighting giant robot flowers. Yeah. Although to be fair, remember, the orchids. right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what. Oh, this show is so good. I don't know why people are so angry at it.
Are they?
People are angry at everything. People are angry at Discovery.
I've stayed away from the negative stuff. Yeah. I mostly just follow the cast on Twitter and that. Yeah, but I don't the episode recaps on Twitter.
There was an article today about the backlash of Picard and how people are like debating what's real Trek and what's not real Trek. I'm like, if you have Patrick Stewart doing Trek, it's real Trek, right?
And just because it's not exactly how they imagined it in their fan fiction, like they just need to back off and enjoy something for once.
It's fine.
Do you guys like? I thought it was cool when Rios sang the lullaby and that gave him back control of his ship again.
Oh yeah,
that didn't make sense. That one kind of slipped past me. I didn't understand.
Well, it felt like how they had an override for the Hulk to make him fall asleep. That's what it felt like. They're like, this is his ship override. Like whenever something happens, this will give him
like if someone all the way back his ship and he was in like the brig or something, he could just sing that and get control back.
Yeah,
but it seemed to affect Soji more than anything. Almost like something she recognized, and I couldn't understand how she was connected to that song.
Maybe she did know it. Maybe he sang it to her as Jenna. Maybe there's a sexy moment with that. Who knows? Let's throw this out to our listeners. What did you think of Rios' sexy song? Why don't you send us an email? Contact us
use the hashtag Rios sexy song.
Send us an email. We're on social media. Send us a note on social media. We're everywhere. Thanks, Michaels, for coming on talking about Picard.
So excited for next week.
Yes.
Thanks for having us. See you next week. Part 1 of the
finale. And thank you guys for coming and listening to us talk about Star Trek, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for us this week on Geeks with Kids. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at geekswithkidscn. Check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.